Hello everybody, Stuart Heath here, CEO and founder of Harvard Grace Capital with part 10 in our series of important investing terms. I do invite you all to go to our website and download the definition booklet that we've put together with all kinds of financing terms and the official definitions, not just my blabbering about them. Today we're talking about financing terms. Whether you're buying a house or you're financing a business or buying a piece of commercial real estate, these terms will apply to what you're talking about. So we're going to cover prime rate, balloon, P.I.T.I, debt service coverage ratio, and points. So let's talk about the prime rate. We always hear that. What's the prime rate? Generally, you can find the prime rate stated every day in the Wall Street Journal, and essentially the prime rate is that rate which the biggest banks will loan to their best customers at. It's their lowest risk rate, and it goes up and down, as economic changes, but is usually tied most closely to the Fed funds rate, which is the rate at which the Federal Reserve lends to banks at. The P.I.T.I, which is an abbreviation for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Most of the time this has to do with your home mortgage, where your monthly payment will involve the principal and interest, of course. But a lot of times they'll wrap in the taxes and the insurance payment. And the lender likes to do that just so that nobody gets into trouble by missing their tax payment or their insurance payment. So that the lender is always covered. The first lien lender can usually only get in trouble by one other creditor, and that's the property tax authorities. So they're the only ones who are always in front of the first lien holder. So that's why they want to make sure your taxes are paid. Likewise, they want to make sure your insurance premium's in force. In case something should happen, they get their mortgage paid off. Points. What does that mean? A point usually refers to 1 percentage point, and these are generally fees charged at the beginning of the loan, usually at closing, and it can be anywhere from a half, a quarter, all the way up to 5 points. And a lot of times there'll be an origination fee, which is always 1 point, and then other points which would typically be used to buy down the rate. Let's say we're in a 10% rate environment. But if you pay 3 points at closing, they'll give you a loan at 7%, which can be a good thing. Depends on how long you're going to be in the property, because you need to make sure you're in that loan long enough that you have earned back those points that you've paid, from the 10 to the 7, and usually that's going to look at 3 to 5 years, depending on what you're doing. And you need to be in that property that long before it makes sense financially to pay those points. That's what a point is, nothing but a fee. A balloon. A balloon payment is essentially a big balance of a loan that's due, typically at 5 years, 10 years, something like that. Usually we'll only see these in commercial mortgages, but just say you've got $1 million loan. They're going to let you amortize that loan over 25 years or 30 years, but it matures in 5 years. So whatever the amortized value is in 5 years, that's the amount that's due. It's not due in 25 years. That's just the amortization period. The loan payment is the big payment due at the end of generally a commercial loan, typically at a 5-year mark. Now here's a real key thing. The debt service coverage ratio. It sounds like a big word, but and this is a big thing for lenders. When they're looking at, especially when what I do with buying commercial properties, they're trying to look at the coverage ratio that property has over over the payment, the debt service. For instance, if the property is generating net operating income of $100,000 and the annual debt service coverage is $50,000, then we have a debt service coverage ratio of 2.0. Now, many lenders will have an underwriting standard of about 1.2, even all the way up to 1.75, depending on the type of asset. And so you've got to make sure that you've structured the deal that the debt service coverage meets their underwriting standards. And the way you push that down is you put in more equity, lower the payment, and get that ratio in line where it needs to be. All of these definitions and more are in our document of investment terms, which you're welcome to go to our website and download for free. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.